Hi, so we're here on another Wednesday, and this week we have the final 2026 calendar. I'm really excited to talk about that. And then we're just going to take another quick look at some other 2025 itineraries and redesign one. It's really not a full-on redesign. I do have full-on redesigns of the itinerary template, and then also the cover image for the reels, and that being the reels that come out every Sunday, showing the books that are going to be the foundation for the itineraries. And we have a slightly different theme for how the books will be analyzed to pull out a few things to do with an itinerary. So we'll take a step away from the cover of the books, the Book by the Cover podcast, and the Book by the Cover blog. I think those will stay, but they won't necessarily be the center of the weekly itineraries. So this year, what we're going to focus on will be retracing steps. So we'll go through and pretty much surround the itineraries on the general themes of some books regarding a person's life. Yeah. So no longer just the cover of the book, but some aspects of the book. And hopefully, ideally, I'll be able to look a little bit deeper into the content of the books this year and really try to make decisions about the itineraries with the content of the books generally. Yeah. So let's look at some of the redesigns that we have. Yeah, a little sneak peek. But I'll be posting the calendar tomorrow. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I don't think I've talked in great detail about Pixlr in any of these live meetings, but I use Pixlr. Pixlr is similar to other editing tools. It reminds me most of Photoshop, but that's just me. I think it's similar to today, most programs like this, whether you use Figma or something else. I don't have much experience using Figma. It's different than Photoshop, but pretty much the icons are a lot the same. So basically, Pixlr is not free in its entirety, but it does allow you to do a good amount of design with a very low budget. So I'm really careful about talking about the design tool and what you can do with it because it really depends on yourself and what you're interested in. Canva is another program, another option if you're not into designing in depth. But if you're interested in really maybe building something from scratch, like genuinely from scratch, then you could use Pixlr. So I use Pixlr. I have used Canva briefly in the past, especially for teaching situations, but this is where I build all of the templates. At some point, I might be able to go through and do a full video on the design, but for me, it's pretty boring. I watch videos of people designing things, and I think it's really interesting, but a lot of times they speed up the process, and I'm not sure the visual design is really a strong point of mine. So yeah, but this is what I have for the design in terms of the background, right? But the other pieces that are laid on top of it, I have the rest of the template put together here. It's different. It's using slides, presentation slides, instead of the Word document. So we'll see how that goes. I might end up using a Word document again and just having the template in the Word document with a text box or a table on top of it to edit. We'll see. I'll decide what I do. But that won't really impact the look of the actual template itself. Here is a really early idea. I could actually show the sketches that I did. So I did a few sketches and then I used the sketch idea. Here are a couple of sketches. And when I got here to this one, I really liked it. So this was an early design that came from Pixlr. And then this is a later design. And this is the current one, or kind of this one. I think I've made, a couple of changes to it. The final decision that I have to make is, do I prefer a really subtle background or do I prefer the darker background? I might go for this one. It makes it a little bit more interesting. It gives it more of a feel than this one. This looks like it's for a certain time period. This looks like it's just a new thing, and I'm not sure. Anyway, so this is what we're working with. And in addition to that, we have the new design for, so retracing steps. This one I'm using to make the final decision with this one, which is why I'm thinking to go with this color because it matches more with this, you see, yeah. But anyway, it's kind of a small decision that, could be made. And doesn't need to be made tomorrow. Right? I still have a few more days to work on that. Tomorrow, I'll be releasing the calendar. I talked about having the dots kind of gridded paper, but using dots instead of full lines, horizontal and vertical lines, cross intersection points. Decided not to do that because I couldn't find a good image of crumpled dotted grid paper. So here we are with your regular college ruled or wide ruled notebook paper. And we are retracing steps. So this is describing the time per present. Now, I did talk about the fact that people be the center of the weekly themes. We'll just be talking about people and retracing their steps, rough going on itineraries that kind of touch on things that they did. I think that's really fun. Okay. And then the books will kind of beef up that. These people aren't necessarily authors themselves. They might be, might not be. They're just the theme. They set the theme and the tone for the week. I did change around a couple of names to try to fit better with holidays, but generally I did my best to stick with an alphabetical list of people that came from the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, 2000s, and the 20s. I'm a huge fan of the use of the 2000s as the first decade of this millennia, but because I think we're still in the 2000s, if you ask me. But yeah, that's, anyway, it's one other thing. The 10s, the 20s, yeah. So So I kind of got a little confused there, but we worked it out. And so there's the 2000s and the 2010s, 2020s. Look at the last category. I had 10 people from each of those, what do we have? Centuries. And then within those centuries, I did my best to follow categories, okay, found in the census regarding racial identity and identity, things like that. So I tried to make sure that we had a good mix. And then, because of course this is way too many names for the year, I put the names on pieces of paper and pulled at random however many we needed for a 2-month period. So I pulled them out pretty much in chunks of 10. I pulled out 10, or sorry, in chunks of 10, I pulled out 8 at random. Okay. And so that's why I say I switched out some of the names. Some of the names, I think 2 of the names that weren't originally chosen, that were left out of the random drawing, they were popped out just because they fit better for a holiday, right? So I tried to make some people reflect holidays the best that I could without making it too pushy or too obvious. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, that's pretty much the explanation. The horseshoe is a main aspect. We talked about that before. People retracing their steps. What are they doing? You know, the year of the horse. The year of the horse, hopefully I'll talk about more in depth after Chinese New Year. I misspoke and said that Chinese New Year I was implying that it was earlier than mid-February. Chinese New Year isn't until after February. But this year we also have, or after the start of February, but that's around the time of the Winter Olympics as well. So I think that would be a good time to talk about the year of the horse or the year of the fire horse and all of the new design in more depth, perhaps. We'll see. But I'm really excited to be able to put more thought into the weekly themes, kind of knowing what it feels like, how it works, and thinking of different ways to build itineraries instead of just the cover of the book, even though I really like that. So, and it will stick around through going on tour. And again, like I mentioned, that's good for going on tour because it helps for having just a quick, fun discussion. And I think it'll probably remain a very Pagesdale concept. So it's great to be touring, moving around. And when I'm moving around, the idea is just focus on the visuals. I think it's great because it helps to overcome language barriers easier, I think, if we're just focusing on the visuals. So I'm excited about that. I have Katrina Lake here. Katrina Lake is no longer on the list, not for any reason related to Katrina Lake, just because I decided to go about a whole different process. And I'm also focusing just on people who are no longer with us. Yeah. So starting from the 1600s up until recently. So I probably won't need this little blurb anymore. Yes. I think that's nice. Yeah. The first person that we'll be talking about, this will be next week, is going to be Yep, because we have the list alphabetically. I believe that's the first name that we have. I think that's stuck there. If not, no worries. Yeah. So, yep, this is what we'll be looking at. And I'm very excited. The trivia templates won't change much. I might end up making the notebook paper be the background instead of the gridded background. Perhaps, but I might. I haven't decided. I would really like to have all of the notebook paper, all the paper be the same for the year. But it might just not make as much sense. Because of the way things are organized for the advertisements. The advertisements might forever just have graded paper. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, forever is a strong word, but I think it's cool to over time just have different types of paper. Yeah. Instead of, yeah. So we'll see. Very good. Now for looking at one of the itineraries. More and stronger as time goes on and with more coffee. I've also been drinking more tea. Mostly because it's been cold and it's nice to have a warm drink. Even though in the past, I used to drink a good amount of just hot water. I enjoy just a hot glass of water. Something else that I got made fun of, but anyway, I might have to go back to just drinking hot water because I get jittery from drinking the coffee. I always have gotten jittery, but it hasn't mattered as much because I'm just at home and it mixes up the food and everything like that. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside. But this color situation, this has me thinking of, like coffee stained paper, right? But this one doesn't give me that vibe. It's a different tone, kind of. But I'm pretty sure, hold on. I've changed it. I've since changed it. But it's not giving me the same intensity, right? So, one moment. I think it needs to be stronger. It needs to say, I'm 2026. This is the year of the horse. And we're honing in on the color tan this year. Okay. Tan. And then the pops of color I've talked about before. I really am trying my best not to get ahead of myself, but I am so excited. For the idea of having a color scheme, right? The color scheme anyhow, I won't talk about that too much. Basically, I'm excited for having the design principles of what's online come to life somehow. Figuring out how I'm going to do that. Challenge sounds really, really fun. But yeah, so let me see if I put these two things next to each other. This we have template F, E, F. Great. Now we come here. All right, so they look much more similar now next to each other. Oops. Let's refresh to get this looking like it should. Just kidding. There we go. Look at all of them. Yeah, so we're getting more of this color is kind of like the color that we have there. I think they're pretty much the same. I think that's good. I don't love it. I'm trying to step out of my personal preferences as much as I can. Because this year, I think I'm going to do, it gives that Western horsey type of feel, you know, this color scheme. And I need tan. And it's also giving that vignette concept of, you know, like the past and things like that. So it's good. It's good. I like it. It's more simple. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do with this. I think here I will make these pieces of paper be just lined paper like this. Oh, I have gritted paper here. You see, that's the thing. Let's see, what does the deck of cards think? Deck of cards. Should I keep the gritted paper for the itinerary? No. The lined paper in the front is going to help unify everything. Yeah. So I use the lined paper here, but then I still use the gridded paper on the actual itineraries. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's okay. Everything's fine. Yep. Cool. Then this will probably be white on black. And then the pictures will always have like that vignette filter on them. I am very concerned about this. Maybe I can do a partial vignette. Like maybe the edges of the picture are vignette, but in the center it is full color. And I don't think I mean vignette. What's the, it's like, what do you call it? Vignette is when it has the, let me go to webcam toy. We have plenty of time. We're good. It's not vignette. It's what is it called? Sepia or something. Vintage. There's another filter, isn't there? There's another one. I thought it was listed here. It just says vintage, but it's called something other than vintage. Now I'm going to go to Pixar to figure out what it is there. I guess it's just one. There's a bunch of different things to call it, I guess. I thought it was an actual. old school exposing of like the pictures and everything, like in the green room. I don't know what I'm talking about. If I can figure it out. Like the yellowish tint of pictures. It's just is there really not one name for it? I thought it was sepia. Yeah. Anyway, that's the kind of look that I'm. And I'll probably do edges. The edges of the picture will be, or the other way around. And the idea here is that I always have the picture of the person. Picture of the person or something that represents them. Cool. All right. It doesn't have to necessarily be the person. Is it better if it's not the person? Not necessarily. All right. Here we go. 7:30. So let's go ahead and focus on the situation that we have here. Wednesday. The one concern that I have about the calendar is if I should have the calendar, if the calendar's image in the background should have a sepia. I don't think it should. I think the calendar should be precisely the same as it was last year, other than, you know, the new stuff. The focus of the picture is slightly different, right? This time the person is in the middle. I don't know if it really matters. It's anyway, let's go ahead and do what we're supposed to be doing. Well, I'm just going to do the message in the bottle. The message in the bottle. So let's go find it and this one that we are looking for is right here. The trivia questions have been quite weak, but that's the whole idea, is to have kind of a break, but still be providing content, especially because I might have said this before, but especially because I want to make sure that I'm consistently running ads. So this is what this time of year will be, as a way to transition from the old year to the new year. Also, it's a good time for a break. Yeah, message in the bottom. I'm really excited about this new design, honestly. Yeah. This part, this whole thing, I'm hoping will be easier next year if I keep all the templates in the slides. Okay, I clearly have a thing. I really like presentation slides and all of the things that are possible with them. I know I'm not the only one. I'm a little concerned that I'm overusing them, but I don't think that's a thing. I think they're just like pieces of paper. So they're digital pieces of paper. And I think they're more like digital pieces of paper than Word documents are. Unless, well, you're working with Microsoft Word. I really like Microsoft Word. I have Microsoft Word. I clearly adore Google Office. Or, Google Suite. Google is Microsoft Office and Google Suite. Yeah. So I love Google. I also love Microsoft. Microsoft has slightly different capabilities right now. So I highly recommend checking out which one you like to use for different circumstances. think I've been using 26 font size for these, which just feels really big. Another change for next year is to try to keep these descriptions as succinct as possible. I'm going back and reading some of these, like this feels so I thought designing these smaller spaces would help me do that. Did not have deleted that. Weird. Let's bring it back and then we edit it. Worthwhile upcoming to discuss. Saturday short story situation. I am really hoping that the short stories will be easier, like from the perspective of these people. And this week, since we haven't had a full month, or we won't have a full month, but I still want to end things, I'll probably write a poem, a 20-lined poem, kind of about 2026. Kind of the whole idea behind the theme and everything. Yeah. That should be. I don't think it's too much because it's a whole year. It's a whole year, right? And then next year, I might be able to edit the poem, one story, and then do a new poem. Remember how easy it is to craft a believable yet false story when listening to stories shared with the sea of humans we are a part of and swim through every day. These are really just kind of whatever. I'm going to say have a drink from a bottle instead of a can. We're doing purple this week. I can sigh a huge breath of relief or breathe a huge sigh of relief, however it goes, after I post this last week following the color scheme, because it's been challenging and kind of scary. I'm always thinking, is this the correct color? It's amazing how we're finishing off on purple, and purple's the last color of the rainbow, or at least the rainbow as far as we've been using it so far. The size of the text has been 25. Write your own cafe. Write your own cafe. I'm trying to figure out how to make that make sense. And I think it just doesn't. So, oops. But yeah. No, I didn't even notice that last week. But it's okay. I'm not that concerned about every minor detail. And I mean, if I were to see that and I think, man, what an egregious mistake, but it's not so egregious. And imagine writing a cafe. Like, what would that be? What would that mean? Right? You just write your own business plan for a cafe. I mean, sometimes mistakes like that can be inspiring, unwittingly. But hopefully there weren't too many of those. Even though I think there were quite a few. So this one is supposed to be drink from a bottle instead of a can. What I don't love about this is that it gives the implication of try a beverage from a bottle instead of a can. Yeah, let's say try a beverage. I want to. Should I say non-alcoholic? Just, this is fine. It's unfortunate how drink or beverage just seems to automatically be alcoholic. You want something to drink? If somebody were to ask if you want something to drink, just that expression, unless you're at a restaurant. I don't know. So I hope that this doesn't imply for too many people. Oh, try a beverage from a bottle instead of a can. I think it's good. It's fine. So very good. I am excited. The 26th theme is love over undue danger. Okay. So I think it does fit into the Western feel. I think it's cute, but it's not so over the top. And being that we're close to Valentine's Day, I think it's extra cute. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to helping that theme or having that theme help me make some decisions throughout the year. And looking for the ways that these individuals chose love over danger or anything like that. I think that's it for this week. I will be posting the new calendar tomorrow, along with the trivia question for Thursday. And I'll post the rest of these. And next week, hopefully, we'll be talking about some of the first books that we'll have for the 2026 season of Page Sound. So with that, until next reach out, keep it loud.